Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you today at our online discussion, Business in Germany, Cultural Differences. The event is organized as a part of the project development of Polish-German cross-border cooperation carried out by... Oh, I think I have to mute somebody, I'm sorry. It's much better now. Okay, so the event is organized as a part of the project development of Polish-German cross-border cooperation carried out by West Pomeranian ICT Cluster and WITENO Science and Technology Park in Greifswald. On behalf of West Pomeranian ICT Cluster, I would like to welcome you here. My name is Magdalena Ławicka. I'm Chief Operating Officer at the cluster. Today's meeting is focused on the most important cultural differences influencing the way of doing business in Germany and Poland. The workshop is being recorded and the interpreter is available, so I think it's quite important information. Kamil Krzywicki is going to be with us all the time, giving us support in translating from English to German and also from German to English. The whole workshop is going to be held in English, but if you need German version, please use the channel interpretation. You can find the bottom interpretation, I mean the button at the bottom of the screen. So if you would like to use the German version, please use the channel interpretation, which is available at the bottom. Can you see it? Okay, great. So the moderator of today's discussion is Ewelina Gnatkowska. She represents Polish-German Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and she has a great experience in the development of Polish-German business relations. So I'm really happy that today Ewelina is going to share her experience with us. Our discussion today is going to be divided into three parts. I'm going to start with my short presentation, just a few words about the project, the whole idea, as well as ICT cluster. Then I give the voice to Ewelina Gnatkowska, and the third part belongs to Alexander Szwok, International Project Manager at WITENO. Okay, so I think I can start with my short presentation just to show you briefly the main ideas of the project and cluster.
Yes, we can.
Yes,
we can. Okay, thank you so much. So today's meeting takes place as a part of the project development of Polish-German cross-border cooperation. The project is co-financed by the European Union from the European Regional Development Fund and the state budget. The event is organized as a part of the project, as I said, carried out by ICT Cluster and WITENO. And I would like to thank WITENO from our cooperation so far. WITENO is a science and technology park from Greifswald. I would like to show you, to discuss, just to point the main goals of the project. So the main goal is to acquire competences needed for future effective cross-border projects and jointly work out the concept for further cross-border cooperation. The material from workshops and discussions and all gathered data is going to be used when elaborating the concept in the form of ebook, which is going to be launched at the end of June. When it comes to cluster, we are the association of around 80 IT companies from the region, and our main objective is to support IT companies with developing of their business relations and their business expansion. When it comes to my role, I provide companies with the appropriate space and possibilities to share knowledge, to share experience, and for some networking ideas. I'm also responsible for developing business network and initiating the cooperation between companies associated at the cluster, as well as other institutions operating in the region. Our member IT cluster enables for companies building partnership and cooperation with IT companies. And our companies can use our internal cluster system for ordering needed ICT competences. Cluster also provides safe cooperation with partners which have been already verified by other cluster companies. And our companies can also benefit from recommendation on combining the ICT resources, and also tips about safe cooperation. Companies belonging to the cluster develop a variety of technologies in the following areas: fintech, automotive, and digital. The vast majority of our companies develop the following services: ICT consulting, custom software development, multimedia, VR and AR technology, and also cybersecurity. When it comes to our cluster members, among our companies, there are some with German capital, as well as some who provide services to the German market. If you look for business partners, contractors, or providers, or you are willing to create a global product with international teams, and you are searching for skills, creativity, and know-how, I think that IT cluster is the right contact to facilitate cross-border cooperation. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope that today's meeting will help us in the development of future joint projects, and especially today's meeting we are going to focus on better understanding of some business cultural differences. And now I can give the voice and running the workshop to Ewelina Gnatkowska, who is going to moderate our today's discussion.
Thank you for this, Magda. Magda Ławiska has already introduced me, so I'm not gonna speak about myself. But she said a very important thing at the beginning, that I'm gonna moderate a discussion. And discussion means that I'm not gonna be the only one who talks here. I would love to hear you also. So please say loud what you think, raise your hand when you need to say something. I would like that this meeting will be the one we exchange our ideas, experiences, and so on. You know who I am, but I don't know who you are. So may I ask the first question, who of you has already an experience in working with German companies or with Polish companies? Please raise your hand. We're gonna see how many of you has already an experience with German market. One, two, three. Only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so let's say about half of you, more or less. Okay, so we're gonna do a small experiment. This will be experiment for me because I'm doing this for the first time. I would like to use Mentimeter and ask you two questions. The first is, what traits are characteristic for Germans and what is characteristic for Poles? Please click a link.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, we're gonna wait because there's more answers coming. This is because most of us are from Poland. This is mostly what we think about ourselves. So we think we are brave, smart, creative, create a few times, hospitality, hardworking, friendly, effective, pragmatic, lazy, if not unsupervised.
It says only 3 words, but I can go with more.
Okay, so let's go to the second question. What we think about Germans? I don't know how to switch to the next. I probably have to give you another link. Okay, let's start the next. Do you see the second question?
No, it's still the first question. Changed a little bit though at my place, but it's still the same Polish side. So
yeah, it's still about Polish people.
Okay.
But I think we can leave more characters. It was 25 now it's 250.
it changed a little bit, but the question still is the same.
Oh my God, I don't know, you know, I tried to change it, but I don't know how to change it. Sorry for that.
It's okay.
No worries. But is it so that we should mention 3 traits about German right now? So...
Yeah, maybe you can just
Try to mention, yeah.
Let's be creative and
I will receive the results. And please mention right now 3 traits of German people.
Oh, actually changed now. The question changed.
Yes, I can see the same German version.
Go a bit slower.
It's all right. I have to start again then.
I see your answer, so I don't think you need you just.
It's all right. It's all right. No worries.
I hear you typing in.
Oh yeah, I gave like 5 answers already.
And the others, let's see. Do you see your answers now? You think German are pragmatic, bureaucratic, taking care of the order. Order was mentioned a few times. Reliable, serious, consequent, punctuality, strict, precise, consequent again, pragmatic again, following rules.
I have to disagree with
slightly
that sense of
different
humor.
from what you wrote about Poles. There are, you know, completely different answers. We are living so close to each other, but look how different we are.
Lack sense of humor wins.
Maybe.
I disagree with this one.
You don't have to agree with anything.
You think that they have sense of humor, or
Well, they really depend on the person, but yeah.
Yeah.
But good. Good
but
point.
again, hardworking. We
Yes,
are both
they have
hardworking.
sense of humor, of course.
Okay, so as you see in this very simple questionnaire, how different the answers are. Maybe before something you said, Martin Kaczmarek, that before we start talking about some kind of cultural differences, we have to make a simple disclaimer here. We are making business establish every time of relationship with people, not with companies, not with societies, not with any, cultural creatures, just with specific people. And these people may be very different from each other. They may break out common patterns. So we have to keep in mind that in first place, we do business with people. We build relationship with certain people. And what we're going to talk about today is more like frequent tendencies, trends. I don't want to call it stereotypes, but
Stereotypen nennen, aber ja,
those are stereotypes too.
das sind auch sehr oft Stereotypen.
Before I joined Polish-German Chamber of Commerce, I used to work in 3 different countries. I used to live, worked, or studied in Germany, Italy, and Sweden. So when we talk about stereotypes, those are 3 completely different countries. Italy, warm people, outgoing, very sociable, playful, spending a lot of time in restaurants, clubs, speaking loud, speaking a lot, yeah, those type of things. The Swedes are quite the opposite, and German, I think Germans associates most with order, and this is what we saw just in the questionnaire. The order, they are kind of tidy, orderly, straightforward. But my personal experience is quite different. Well, partially it confirms those stereotypes, but partially it's completely different. In Italy, one of my jobs was just to run a house of a retired professor, and he was extremely quiet person, probably the most quiet person I ever met in my life. Very decent, a little bit stiff, calm, quite the opposite what we think about Italians. He was a type that we probably most associate with Scandinavian nations. But he was native Italian from generations. So just keep in mind that people are different. And yeah, I know some of you maybe will say now, wow, we have a workshop here about cultural differences, and you say that there is none. Well, there is some tendencies, and we're going to speak about them right now. I was wondering how the scientist, if the subject of cultural differences was a subject to different researchers, and there is a lot. and many of them confirms what you already wrote in those two questionnaires. And about findings of those researchers, I'm going to tell you right now, and I hope we're going to discuss about them. So I'm going to show right now a few slides, and I'm very curious what you think about this, what your experience is. Let me share my presentation. You don't?
No, I don't see it. I don't know how the others,
Okay.
but I think the others wouldn't see. Okay,
I
coming up.
don't think
It's coming up. It's okay.
Cool.
No, it's all right.
Okay, cross-cultural differences and how they affect doing business in Poland and in Germany. Well, probably the first big research was the one made by Gerd Hofstede, a Dutchman, who researched organization in different countries, and found out that there are 5 main levels where the cultures differs from each other. This is power distance, the scale between collectivism and individualism, femininity and masculinity, avoiding uncertainty, and long and short orientation. Those are scales. So this is not the choice between either or. Just every country is just a little bit closer to collective thinking or to more individual thinking. As I said, there were many studies, and on the table, this is the right side, you see another findings, kind of similar, but still different. What's for me was important in the second, in those second findings, that those factor refers to 3 main levels. I mean, they relate to people, they relate to time, and they relate to environment. And I thought myself that we're gonna speak today about cultural differences, having in mind those 3, and I made even 4 main levels, 4 main, I don't know how to call it, platforms. So we're gonna speak about differences, different approaches to interpersonal relationships, differences in communications. Those 2 first levels are very similar. They kind intermingle. They're very close to each other. And there's the
Anders, aber die anderen sind viel näher aneinander.
different ways of solving problems. How do you think, what are the the biggest differences in building personal relationships between Germans and Poles? If anyone to say something, please raise your hand. I don't see anyone. Guys, you have to say, I'm really not I don't should be the one who talks and talks and talks. Okay, I made
excuse me, Ewelina, I'm not sure if I understand this correctly. You know, how the different approaches to interpersonal relationships, this is strictly about business, right? Or like in general?
Like in general. Well, I don't think that private life and business life are very, you know, that we are different person in business and different person in private life. So let's talk in general. It should, of course, applies to building business relationship.
All right.
So,
I mean, no. The one I can think of is just, you know, I do trainings for people all over the world. That includes Germans as well. And to be honest, I do not see any differences in interpersonal, you know, relationship, the approach to that. Yeah. So hard for me to say anything. Yeah.
yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Anyone? Maybe is there anyone who see difference in Dorota Trinks? Can you say what you think because you raised your hand? Okay, then Marcin Kaczmarek.
Okay, I work.
Danke, bin ich gut zu hören?
Ja, Sie sind gut zu hören.
Also ich habe die Erfahrung gemacht, dass die Deutschen einfach sehr langfristig planen.
Oh, excuse me, but I think we need English version now, so we have to switch to English channel to hear English version. So please excuse for my disturbing, but so
Soll ich jetzt diese Englisch?
So I hope this English version works fine. You can simply speak normally, and the people who are supposed to understand you will by listening to the English channel.
Also ich habe einfach die Erfahrung gemacht,
my
dass die Deutschen
experience is
einfach
that the
langfristig
Germans
planen, sehr langfristig
plan long term, very long term.
In Polen wird alles kurzfristig geplant.
And in Poland, everything is done on a short-term basis.
A part of my job is to organize different type of events, and when we invite German speakers or even German guests, and we do it really short terms. They usually say, well, you have to inform us like 2 months before the date, not 2 weeks before the date. So they tend to really plan long term. So this is my experience too. What's your experience, Marcin Kaczmarek?
Well, I worked and lived in Germany for almost 5 years and then came back to Poland to open a business here. So in terms of this long-term planning, for me, the difference on a business level is that because of this long-term perspective, it's way easier to find a win-win scenario when you cooperate with Germany.
Viel schwieriger, diese langfristig.
Some Polish partners, it was they looked at it really as one-time shot. So they really tried to, let's say, squeeze the most out of the contract that we had. Didn't really care of what happens next. So for me, it was way easier often to establish new relations with German companies than with Polish ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. As you see now, I already changed the next slide. The different approach to relationships, which finds expression in Polish-German contacts, illustrates Richard Gesteland divisions of world cultures into two divisions. One is pro-transactional culture, and the other is pro-partner cultures. I don't know if it's the best translation, but I hope you know what I mean. So the pro-partner culture or relationship-oriented culture is just the one who cares more about building relationships, building good atmosphere. There is like a tendency to be more polite, use diplomatic language, not to hurt people. But when we come to communication, there are also many indirect statements, body language, context. Context is very important to understand what this really means. Those cultures prefer to describe things, not to name it by name. And the opposite is pro-transactional culture, so more task-oriented culture. So they are more focused on business, on the things that need to be done. The good understanding is very important in terms of that the facts are good exchange. The facts, the numbers, data, this is more important than, I don't know, feelings, atmosphere, context. The information in pro-task culture should be understood even if you don't know the whole context.
Ewelina, please excuse me, I think Aleksandra Piasecka would like to add something.
Yeah, please.
Because you raised your hand.
Oh, maybe later. You have to unmute yourself.
Darf ich jetzt oder vielleicht lieber später?
Vielleicht jetzt.
Later. Yes, you can talk now. I wanted to add something to what others have already said. What I've seen is that the Germans are always well prepared when they come to a meeting. And now the Poles have also changed a lot. And people who want to have a good meeting, they prepare an agenda for the meeting. But it is always something that the Germans have in mind, that the Poles improvise well. And it seems to be part of our personality. Well, we are able to do that, but this is not why this is not because we're not treating our partners seriously. Our improvisation can have the same influence as the well-prepared agenda. So we are not really so much different. We all want to reach the same goal, and in that we are very similar. So despite the fact that we have our differences between us, we can achieve exactly the same goal.
I confirm, and I'm gonna speak about this later, but really good that you said it right now. Maybe we're gonna let's skip, make a step forward to the next slide. This is more about communication, how we communicate. This is really close related to how we build relationship. So Poles are more focused on how, looking for solution together, while Germans are more focused on what. So they are focused on maximizing the goals. This is what you said, Alexandra, that we have different ways to achieve the goal. And both ways can be successful, but because we have different ways to achieving goal, we can be easily misunderstood. So this is the reason we talk about differences right now, to understand each other better. Okay, the communication between Germans and Poles may be sometimes difficult, because Germans go, well, striving for precision. They go straight to the point. As you said, they are good prepared. They have facts, they have agenda, they have, procedures, steps that has to be taken to achieve goals. While in Poland there's like more flexibility, more space for improvisation, and
We will figure it out on the way.
Yeah, we already we already said that, but you know, this is I don't know, two-sided. It's had two sides, you know, this striving for precision, honesty, let's say it, honesty, this straightforwardness have two sides. On the one hand, Germans can be taken as a rude person, arrogant, or not polite. They can hurt people. Not intentionally, but maybe just taken as aggressive persons. But this is this negative side. But the positive side, that you can always count on really good feedback. And I can tell you here the story from my personal life. It was when I was working for Barlinek, one of the leading producer of wooden floors. We had back then quite big distributor in Austria, not in Germany, but in Austria. But I think this is a good example. We were introducing a new product to Austrian market. It was before, it was a few weeks before introduced to Polish market, and the sales didn't look good, but we couldn't get the answer, you know, the feedback, why the floors didn't sell, why customers don't buy it. And then we go to Austria to meet this distributor, and I maybe say you first what was about this new product. It was just wooden floor with the bottom layer made of wooden rests. So it didn't look good, but was very ecological, and even well, the bottom side of the floor is not visible. It just stick to the ground and nobody sees. But because it was made of smaller wooden parts with, you know, with the small holes in between, it was even in the long-term usage, it was even better because wood would just work better, you know, it shrinks and it's then expands, and it's work better when there are those holes on the bottom. But it didn't look good. This is the fact. It just well, was controversial. And then we went to this Austrian distributor and asked him about this product why there is no sales, and he laughed at us loud. He said that this is the wood that he can use for the fireplace, that this is Schrott, that this is just a kind of very shitty product, that nobody will buy it. And when it comes to the price, we must bump our head even twice, because this is ridiculous what we offer here. We get the feedback, you know what is wrong, how the marketing communication has to change to sell this product on this market. And this is the type of the information we didn't get from Polish customers. I don't know how often you are in the situation where we send, when you send your offer, present your product, and there is silence on the other side, that there is no answer. And when you ask again and again, when you come back and ask, hi, what do you think about my offer, about my product, service, and so on, there is no clear...
Da gibt es keine klare Antwort. Manchmal
if you reach the right person and you speak on the phone with this and ask, what about this? There is kind of very vague answer like, it's not the right time. We are busy with different products. We change our strategy. Come back to us someday. You know what I mean? Yeah, like there is no real feedback. Very few people in Poland will tell you, we need something else and we need this, this, and this. Your product fails here and here and here. But you most probably get those type of answer on the German market. They will send you that they have someone who is cheaper, who is more reliable, that they trusted their partner and don't want to change them to the new one. They don't want to take the risk. Can be different situation, of course, but most probably you will get feedback. Do you agree with me? Do you have those type of experience?
Ewelina, we have one comment from Wipke Kus when it comes to German communication.
On the chat, okay.
Yes, on the chat.
I have to add something. Germans are not always direct in the communication, especially political area. Yeah, well, politic is a kind of different story. Yeah, that's true. At the end of the presentation, I will show you a short interview with my former boss, native German, who spent many years, 20 years, in Poland, like going back and forth, and he also say that the communication and the attitude depends on how big is the company. There are really big differences in family-run companies, family business, and those more corporate organization. So, sure, there are big differences, for sure. Well,
Ewelina, excuse me if I can add to myself, from myself. Yeah, for me, it's kind of all this thing is kind of a little bit new. You know, I'm in marine industry, and it's very, this industry is very much sealed. It's hermetic. So everybody, and it's very much based on it's a technical thing, you know, taking care of vessels and so on. And from my perspective, Germans, as any other nation, actually very similar. You know, it goes to the technical stuff and actually, you know, discussing things. All this maritime industry is very, very straightforward. So actually, yeah, from my side, I do not really see much differences. It's very much, the only differences sometimes I can see, the emails are structured different way. Maybe, you know, like you say, those things, some people try to avoid topics, you know, and they're more sensitive on things. But if it comes to the technical side, it's always the same.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something like a short story from the beginning. I don't know if there's I think at the beginning was a good moment to say that, but I think I just say it now. Maybe I won't have occasion next time. I mean, later on. Once I was talking to this service engineer from Germany, and we're talking, you know, this guy, he's installing different devices on vessels, on the navigation equipment. And, you know, we're talking, and I said, I'm from Szczecin. And he said, yeah, I love Szczecin. I've been there, I've been to your shipyard. It's like, yeah, what's cool about it? You know, it's just the same as the other shipyards. And he said, no, listen, in Germany, when I go to shipyard and I have to do something, it's like tons of papers, right? I have to, before something's going to happen, it's like takes time. And he said, like, first time I went to Poland to shipyard, he said, and I needed this like a penetration going from the wheelhouse through the ceiling to get into the mast. And he said, in German, normally he asked like a fitter person supposed to do that, right? So like a drilling, welding and stuff like that. And that takes days, right? Before he's gonna say something and the actual execution of the thing takes 2-3 days. And he was super surprised when he asked the Polish fitter, it's like, can you please do this pipe for me, right? This gooseneck pipe, because I need it. So this needs, the drilling has to be done, you know, and the welding and so on. When this fitter came back to him after 2 hours saying that the job is done, he just couldn't believe it. It's like, so those are the only experiences I've got. But other than that, technical aspect, it's pretty much the same. It's there are some only nuances, like I said, in a way of people speak and read emails, but they do not, write emails, but they do not really affect anything else, because on the technical level, it's very much similar between Polish and German people, I believe. Yeah, sorry, I just want to add my input here, and yeah, because I think yeah, it's just
yeah, I'm very glad. I'm very glad that you shared your experience here. And I think that on the technical level, it must be the same. Well, imagine that we talk very different languages in technical areas. We wouldn't, you know, build anything together. It must be kind of the same language. But the orientation towards task or the Polish orientation towards relations to people has also consequence in terms of the sense of responsibility. Germans feel more responsible for the entrusted to them task, project, while Poles, and what's important, you cannot, at the first sight, it may be not visible, but it is visible in the conflict situation. When there is a conflict, German tends to sacrifice the relation with people or with the group in order to fulfill the task. While in Poland is different. Poland, for Poles, higher priority is to maintain a good relationship. That is why in conflict situation, they rather not fulfill the task or they do it later in order just to keep good atmosphere, good relationship. They also tend to make changes in the projects to, you know, satisfy the group or just other people. You know what I mean? In those different attitudes may not be visible at the first time on the surface, but in the conflict situation, those conflict situations are always the one where you mostly see the differences between the nation. And there is other area where those differences are visible. I mean here, let me check, European value studies. Those are studies made every 5 years. And this research show what we value in the work. And for examples, while the first 3 records are the same for Poland and Germany, there's good wages, also good money, stable environment, interesting work. Those 3 are very important for Poles and for Germans. But the interesting thing happens when we go just further, and when we go deeper in the research, we see very different statements, because people on the fourth place, people Poles value working with the nice people, lack of work pressure, comfortable working hours, work that enjoys human respect. Whereas in the case of Germans, the following things appeared: the possibility to show initiative, a job where you feel that you can achieve something, that gives great opportunities for promotion, a job with wide range of responsibility, a job that corresponds with your qualities, with your skills. You see, the first three values were the same: money, interesting job, stable job. While when you go deeper, there's completely different answer. And I think it's good to remember that when you will enter the German market or the Polish market and want to hire people, you just need to emphasize different values. In Poland, more related to people and to good atmosphere. In Germany, more related to
die Möglichkeit, im Beruf voranzukommen, wichtiger. Und diese Unterschiede sind da sichtbar.
Clock that we are just talking a bit too long. We have to move forward quicker. So let's go to the next level of cultural differences. And this will be a different approach to time. And when we talk about time, you already wrote that at the beginning. We usually say that German are very punctual and Poles not so punctual. But this is a more complex topic. This is more about how we work, how we approach the project. I mean here, if we go things rather step by step, sequential, or are multitasker. Poles, the things that I wrote here in with the bold font, time management is considered as a prerequisite for effective performance and is a component of professional. This is a very typical and very important when you just work with German markets. Time is very important for German. We in Poland don't just pay that much attention to good time estimation, to punctuality, to we are usually doing many things at once. We don't just stick to procedures, and this is also visible when we talk when we separate or not private and professional life. In Poland, we tend to make different kind of relationship in a workplace quicker than in Germany. And here is a big difference, because when I speak with Polish companies that want to enter German market, I usually say that to be on the German market, to be successful on the German market, the networking is very important. From the German companies that operate on Polish market, I know that when the new boss comes, there is a new boss, the people who work with him get kind of, all his business cards. So they have kind of all his contacts, because the contacts he has, sometimes private, sometimes like business contact, those contacts built during the years. The difference is here that in Poles we get into, we build relationship in a new workplace very quickly. We tend to meet privately, know private things about our co-workers very quickly, while in Germany it goes slower, but those relationships tends to be more stable, more, I don't know how to call it, but stronger. They are stronger because they were proved in different business situations. Well, like Germans first
wurden in verschiedenen Situationen geprüft. Die Deutschen machen zuerst
step, next business, next project, and then after a few such project steps, they just build the kind of private relationship with someone. Do you see the difference? Do you know what I mean? I hope yes.
I would like to try to say something about this due to this subject. My name is Agnieszka van Höfen. I'm representing Förder- und Entwicklungsgesellschaft in Pasewalk. My experience due to this subject is quite similar as yours, because we are different. We are, although we are neighbors, we are different. We have different mentalities. That's why we have the different approach to those subjects, and it's so easy and so complicated at once. And that's why it's so important that we talk about this, that we can maintain our experiences and just be open, because we are just upon our posts as well. We are open. So everything, mostly what we have to say, you can experience and hear just at once. And Germans are more close. This is my experience, which is not bad, because the differences are good. The thing is how we will use this knowledge in order to make good deals, make good businesses, and to just cooperate together. So that's why I can just say, yes, you are right, we are different. And our approach to time, for example, time is not so important in Poland because relations are more important. The good feeling about this, the chemistry, this energy flow, this is really important. So it's not so hard and straightforward. It's more like flexible, this border between being a partner, starting to be a partner. It's more like, in German are more hard, like straightforward. Okay, let's make a deal. We have this. So they are more concrete. In my opinion, as I said, it's not bad. We just, like today, we just need to know better each other and yes, try to make the best out of it. And
Yeah.
so these differences, and to know what the differences are, it's like it's a perfect key to find the perfect solutions due to the best cooperation. So yes.
Yeah, those are good observations. And when I talk with Polish companies that already operate on German markets, and I ask them, what did you expect, how the Germans are, they usually say what you already said, that Germans are very predictable, that this is very mature, well-organized market, that the companies are really, well organized. This is the best word, probably. And in the fact, studies conducted by AHK, we do the studies every year. They show that in Germany there is much greater discipline when it comes to paying wages. That means the Germans pay their invoices on time. And this is very much appreciated by Polish companies. But of course, there are also some contradiction. Listen, I have a transport company here in Poznań, which was set up by a former Navy commander, a soldier. And this is a soldier, like, you know, in flesh and blood. And his experience with German companies is that there is no greater chaos than in German companies. That the communication with Germans is such difficult, and you have to wait so long for, you know, answers, feedbacks, and so on, that this is extremely complicated. He expected order, that they are very predictable, and it turns out that there is the opposition. So, you know, maybe it's because he has a very high standards, higher than an average, or maybe he just came across such chaotic companies. You know, we already said that people are different, companies are different, so we have to be open for different experiences. But when we talk about this long and short-term thinking, the one thing I have to mention, German economy is built on family companies. Companies where the founder, when he started to run a company, he already thought about passing it to his son, his grandson, someone. So it was important for him that his successors get a company in a good condition with good reputation. And this reputation is very important for Germans. Used to be, at least over the past years, because right now things are changing quicker than before. But this reputation was very important, and the result of this that they Germans tends to have lower acceptance to failure or to risk. They are not taking risks because they are afraid that that they fail. And it determines a completely different way of thinking, because way more important are proven partners, stable partners, as the opportunities that may come from outside. On example, when you send the offer to, I hear it very often from Polish companies, we sent many offers, we did no business. Because they all say that they have they cooperate with.
Die sagen, dass sie mit anderen Firmen zusammenarbeiten, viele Jahre. Und die sagen, dass sie die Firmen mit jemandem austauschen müssen, der
the new partner will be as reliable as the old partner, and the difference in price, usually very small, it's not worth to take this risk.
Excuse me, Ewelina. Can I add something? Because my predecessor, what she said, I think is very interesting. We are different, that's for sure. We have different approach. We have sometimes different way of doing things. But what I think it's important, and it's a key to success. It's actually to use those differences in appropriate way. And I've got like a real life example of it. Although I will exaggerate a little bit to show the difference. But as I mentioned, I'm working in the maritime industry, and I was talking to ship's owner, right? So people who just owns like a small fleet or big fleet or their vessels. And I was talking to them and asking, so which companies or which countries do you prefer for your for service on your vessels? And like I said, it's not it's a little bit exaggerated, but I say, okay, if comes to shipyard, when we've got time, everything's planned, I prefer Germans, because they just follow everything. I know everything's gonna be good, right? However, when we've got a time pressure, when there's many things to do and there's complicated things, I prefer Polish engineers, because they like you say here on your slides, they are more flexible. They do not sometimes follow the rules, but they get things done. And even they care more about, okay, let's do this and we'll take care of other things later on, but let's make this thing done now. And so the things can be moved forward, and later on we'll take care of other things. So I think that's the thing, just to use those differences towards the appropriate things, right? So we can, and this way, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's just a key to success. Use our differences. That's it.
Yeah,
because it's natural. We all different.
You're right, but you have to be aware of those differences. And this is very important thing you said, because on the one hand, the strength of the German model of this doing things step by step, on focusing on one thing at a time. This contributes to the high quality of performance. Because many, when you are focused on one thing, there is a very small difference that you oversee something, you know, that you forget about something, because the procedures are made just to do everything step by step, so nothing will stay out of the perception. But on the other side, the Polish flexibility contributes that in the conflict situation, things may be done different way, not as it was agreed, but the goal may be still reached. And this is, I show you right now, the last level of cultural differences, and this is the different ways of solving problems. Mostly, this is the answer to question, what is the attitude towards structure? And as we said before, Poles are rather skeptical to structures. They follow them only when they need to. Well, Germans strive for the optimum, and this optimum, this is very important, because they believe that the procedure are set because this is the optimal, proven, experience, checked way of solving a particular problem. That these procedures don't come out of the blue. Just this is the result of researchers, of tests. So this is the best way to solve certain problem. And well, as we said before, they plan strictly and in detail, and they are usually very good prepared for discussions and negotiations, but it doesn't mean that there is no space for spontaneous acting, like to do things
Sachen anders zu machen. Ohne.
And this is what Jens in the film I will show you in a minute. That is something that Jens said, that when he came to Poland for the first time, he didn't know about Poles and our culture, like anything, and he didn't even try to Google it. He just quite spontaneously, without preparation, optimistic, came to Poland. And you will see what he found out.
Ewelina?
Yeah.
Please excuse me, because I think that we are consuming somehow time for Alexander Szwok presentation. So
Yeah.
can we make the film, the video a little bit shorter than 30 minutes? What do you think?
I don't know. Let's try.
It's up to you.
Let's try. Okay. So, okay, I'm not, okay. So let's start with the video right now. This is a short film I recorded with my previous boss. He didn't know what will be the questions. This was kind of spontaneous action. We did it yesterday and without preparation. So everything he says is really how he found us and why. This is what he really thinks. I hope you're gonna see it.
What's your experience in working in Poland? How many years did you work in Poland and what did you do?
Thanks for that. First time I've been coming to Poland for work purposes was in autumn 2001. So that's quite a long history of working. I was then managing director of a Polish subsidiary of an international bathroom company working out of Germany. The name is Hüppe. And we had in these days, which was pretty close after everything developed in Central Eastern Europe. We started our business there, and we started distribution and sales.
Okay, I'm gonna do faster.
What did you expect? What your friends did tell you, if they tell you anything about Poland?
You mean in 2001 or 2000?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, nobody told me anything about that. And I was working here in the headquarters, the company, and when I was hired, I was told, well, as you know, you will take care of Central Eastern Europe. I said, well, that's fine. And there was basically no preparation in that. These days, it was still the times when you were not talking about international business, but you were talking about export business, which is a kind of a different approach. Because export means you get an order from somewhere out of the country, you arrange the payments, then you make a container, you put the shipments, and you forget about that. But here it was a complete different approach. The company had started already a kind of an internationalization process and founded companies, legal entities as well, outside of Germany. Especially in Poland and as well in other countries of Central Eastern Europe. So there was not much preparation for me in terms of cultural background, how is business working, how is it going, etc. So my first thing was that I was just, sitting in the car and driving from Germany to Poznan. And that was long times before this lovely highway was built. It was still this up and down street. It was very wide. And when trucks were overtaking trucks, and from two directions on a 2-lane on a small street. So it was quite an adventure, to be honest, the first trip. And of course you come with a feeling of you get somewhere you have never been to, and you don't know how people are. And
how?
Sorry?
What was your impression? How did you find the people here?
When I arrived, I was quite surprised about how professional people are. First of all, I was extremely surprised how well the people were speaking German, for example. This whole and that's something which I really experienced over the whole period working in Poland, that there's a significant attitude to learn different languages, which is slightly different from Germany. Maybe we became a little bit lazy in our intention to further develop language skills, but that's something which I really found extremely interesting, that people were very well prepared to speak different languages. And I'm not talking only about German language, but for us, of course, that was quite important because of the collaboration with headquarter and so on. That was extremely helpful. The level of education as well, I was surprised, because education is working differently in Poland than in Germany. I mean, you have, of course, we have the university education on the one side, but on the other side, Germany has a system of professional education where you're not, it's not kind of a trainee, or you can call it a trainee program, but after going through this, 2 or 3 year training on the job period, you get a certificate. You can be, you can do this in economies, in commercial topics, but as well all the craftsmen, they get that kind of certificate, which is.
Look how important for Germans, because we said German are more factual, and this attitude like toward facts, tasks, and this results in that they are very having different types of papers like certificates, acknowledgements, credentials is very important on this market, because this is kind of proof that you really can do what you say you can.
Issued by either the Chamber of Commerce or the or you hire somebody who's not educated, without education. Without whatever. Of course, people have education by experience, but you don't have any kind of a report. You don't have a certificate or something. You just need to trust the people, what they're telling you. That's one thing I found out. A key cultural difference, of course, was in, and that's something I learned, was about. That has a lot to do with humans. I'm not so sure whether this is, specifically for Poland, but I was used, for example, you agree something and it happens. That was the style of work I was used to. When I arrived in Poland with my subsidiary, for the people working there, we agreed something. When I came back after 4 weeks, it was like, oh, well, you never asked again, so we weren't clear, we weren't sure whether that is really a task to fulfill. So we haven't done anything, and that was a learning. So okay, you need to be more specific in that, which could have been a learning in this organization. But I had this experience a few times more, that you really, if you talk about, and I'm not talking about assigning in a written form to somebody something, but it's just you and I. We talk about something and we say, yeah, this is what we do, and everybody knows what to do, and then it happens. Yeah, people would just walk, the door, and then it happens. Now. It needed a report, it needed to clearly be described. So formality is something which is much, much higher, bureaucracy. Yeah.
Higher?
As in companies it is. I wouldn't say that, I'm not sure how the state is organized. We have a big bureaucracy in terms of our government and in terms of things which are related to that. But in terms of how it works in companies, what needs to be documented, how agreements are drafted, that's something where I found significant differences between the two countries. And for example, if you make a contract in Germany, a commercial contract, that usually is enough if this is on 2-3 pages. The drafts I've seen in Poland, they were always like 10 to 20. And I was always thinking, why is that? Why is that so much? And a lawyer once explained that to me. A lawyer who's experienced in both countries, and he said, well, the point is that Germany has an extremely well-prepared commercial code. So you have a lot of agreements and preparation is in the law. Whereas in Poland,
you don't have to write it in every agreement.
Exactly. You just refer to the law, and that's fine. Everybody is happy with that. And it's a commercial code which has developed over 50 or more years, and people are happy with that. And we have, for example, the saying, "No answer is an answer," which is like silent exception. This is in the commercial code, but that's something where in Poland you need to draft it, you need to do it. And what I always found so funny, sorry for that, but you needed a stamp. The stamp is the most important thing. And I was thinking,
yes, I mean, I think you right now talk about how it was in 2001. Did it change when you came back to Poland 2014? No, it's the same.
I was from 2001 to 2009. I cared about this region, and then back in 2014. But still, the stamp was the most important thing. Nothing works without the stamp. And I was always saying, well, the signature is the most important. The stamp is, yeah. But everybody said, no, a document without a stamp is invalid. It's a kind of a perception. Maybe it's not. This is something where I think that in Germany it's more fact-based. It's much less emotional. All the discussions, nobody. I wouldn't say. You can't even say people are taking it personally. It's more the way of expression, the way how people are structured. It's a very intensive exchange of information, whereas in Germany you have your facts, you look on them and you just tick the box. It does. I mean, especially if you work in corporate organizations. If it's your own business, it's a different story always. But if you work in a corporate organization, there are things you just don't care about, and you say, well, if it's this way or that way, it's most important that the thing gets done. Whereas I've experienced that in Poland, the discussions are much more emotional. There's more fire in that, and that's something which I highly appreciated as well. Is the willingness to change things is much higher than it was. And I always compare that to maybe Germany 30-35 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, when there was this, we call this, the commercial wonder of Germany. That's when the economy was booming, things were moving forward, everybody was running the extra mile. And that's something which I don't see anymore here, but which I saw always coming to Poland. There's things are going. There's something is happening. There's activity. It's not things are not standing still, and this is driven by the people.
Yeah.
Okay, no to by, that's it from my side. I would love to talk about German-Polish relationship longer, but I don't want to take time that is meant for Mr. Schwok. So thank you for now, and if you have any question or if you want to share any ideas with me, just contact me. Thank you very much also for your contribution.
Okay, so in the meantime, I guess it's a good idea to leave the mail contacts on our chat. So please use the chat and just write your name and the email contact. And now it's the time for Alexander Szwok presentation. Alexander, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I will now switch on also my camera and
great to see you.
To share my my screen.
Perfect.
Just a moment, I have to go to the first slide. I don't know why it's not presenting the first slide and starting with the second slide. Okay, now it's starting with the last slide. Oh, it's also okay. Okay, so I just try to start my presentation now and go to the first slide, and hopefully it will start also with the first slide. I would like to, that's not the first slide, it's one of the last slide. I don't know why it's doing this. I open up the presentation again. Yeah, first of all, unfortunately, there was a doubling of some content, and you see it now at the screen, because my topic was speaking about stereotypes as a blessing or a curse. And we started a little bit with this topic, and originally the exercise I planned, it was the same as we had at the beginning, and that's why I tried to change it to another one, and hopefully this one will work, because it's just very spontaneously done as a check-in. I will copy the link to the chat. Unfortunately, at the moment, I can't see the chat by myself. Why I can't see it now? So it's Zoom. I don't have any chat windows. Why? Okay, here's one. Hopefully, you can just see this link, and maybe you can follow it and go again to Mentimeter. You can also use this code if you like, it's the same. And then you will get a picture on the next slide, and just write there on Mentimeter what is your feeling about this picture, and we will come later to the result of these questions. So please just fill in, and we will see, we will speak about the results some minutes later on. But at the moment, I don't see that anyone can answer. Maybe there's a problem.
The problem is one. I mean, I can't see the picture.
You can't see the picture?
Oh, me neither. Yes, we cannot see the picture.
Okay, again, the screen 2. Can you now see the picture again?
Oh yeah, wow, okay.
Oh, yeah, there is. Creepy. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I can see the first answers. It would be nice if some more can just answer very spontaneously. Don't take this exercise too serious. Just something to show you a little bit later on what is meant. Currently, I only see 3 answers. Maybe someone more can just give a very spontaneous feedback. But you can do it also later on. The Mentimeter is still open, and we can just go to the presentation. Okay, so just forget for some minutes the picture you saw before. I think to give you some tools to understand cultural differences, maybe a little bit better, or have them in mind if you start to cooperate internationally, I would show you 2 models of cultures. I prefer they are much more available. One is the model of cultures. It's also developed by the guy from Netherlands, so Mr. Hofstedt, and this is the onion of cultures. And that means that if you look on a culture from outside, you have it as an onion. You can put this one layer, and then you came to the next layer, and then if you are there, you will you get some knowledge, and then you come to the next level, and so it goes never to the center of the onion, and somehow this describes, if you start to work internationally, that you become more and more familiar with the cultural things. That is one model, but to be honest, I prefer the second one. And this model is the so-called iceberg, the Hall's iceberg. And that means you have a part above that is, these are the things you can really easily recognize if you look on a culture. There you will find something like food, flags, fashion, music. So all these things you can very easy Google or came in contact. Then you have a second layer, things which takes some time to recognize. So all the things you only learn if you are there, if you are working there, if you are there, and there you will find all these communication styles and rules, gestures, eye contact behaviors, escapes, touching, body language. All these things you are learning if you are there and if you are in contact with this culture. And a little bit later on, you can realize something like friendships, leaderships, clearness. You will also recognize the role of related to age, sex, class, family, and so on. And then there are some things like the third level, things you can recognize only when you are very familiar with this culture. And it takes a very, very long time to become familiar with this third level of recognition. And there you will find all these religion things, relation with raising children, decision making, and also the problem solving, the real problem solving. And for many cultures, all these political things you will find on this level. So the real openness to speak about this. This is a very general look on the cultural things. And as we are neighbors, for us, it's not so difficult to look on this. Then, for instance, if you start to look on the culture like the Indian culture, from our perspective, it's much harder to understand the culture in India than to understand the culture, for instance, for a German to understand the Polish culture, and the same from the Polish side to understand the German culture. And the second thing you have to keep in mind, you are really near the border. So you came from Zachodnie-Pomorskie. And it's completely different things if you came from the southeast of Poland. There are also some cultural differences, and it's not so easy to understand. People like we understand our neighbors, especially because we have some cultural background. So we have for some periods we have a joint history, and this is also something you have to keep in mind if you are speaking about understanding. And yeah, and this is somehow I would just keep in mind that if we are speaking about stereotypes, there I think you can find as much definition of stereotypes as you want. But in general, it's a generalization of some behaviors or some simplified assumptions made about other groups. So groups can be everything. It should be not a nation. It can be also some other groups. It can be also a group of persons inside a culture. These are often used for stereotypes, and you have to keep this in mind, that these are oversimplified assumptions. And if you speak about stereotypes, and I just look on a quite new collection of some of these stereotypes called Country Facts and Unwritten Rules. It was prepared during a European project, and there you will find some stereotypes. So we are often called from outside the great handshakers. If you start a meeting, you have to make handshaking. If the meeting ends, you have to make handshaking. Sure, a normal time, not in the current situation, but a normal time, yes, it's clear. Often we called that the workplace dresses are often very conservative, and this is something where I said I'm not fully agreed. It's depending on the area where you are. If you are in the creative business or in a very young business, for instance in digitalization, this is not longer true because it changed, and it changed very fast. So you have to also keep this in mind. But if you look on the financial sector, it's definitely true. It's very conservative. Yeah, and the eye contact is also something you have to keep in mind. But there we are not so far away. For instance, if you welcome something, if you make the handshaking, then it's expected that you look into the eyes of the person you are welcome at the moment. And in some other cultures, you have to avoid this. They are not familiar with this eye-keeping situation, and you have to keep this in mind that this could be or give some problems if you make it too aggressive. So that is something you have to keep in mind. And there's a distance in German culture. So the distance, they're speaking about 2 arm lengths. I think it's more minimum 1 arm length is a personal area of a German. And you have to keep them, you should respect this area, this well-feeling area of the persons. In some other cultures, especially in the South Europe and Western Europe, in Spain, for instance, they don't have this distance. You definitely not have this distance there, and you have to keep this in mind also. And one of the stereotypes is, please be for a business meeting in time, minimum in time, maybe some minutes before, but not be too late. Yeah, often we are called direct, frank, and truthful. Please keep in mind, if you prepare a business communication, that the majority of the Germans like to have a more analytic and factual presentation than an emotional presentation. If you communicate, for instance, to a broader auditorium where you have also persons from other cultures there, then you have to sometimes then you have to change your presentation of the same things, of the same content you would like to submit, but you have to then to make it more emotional. So that is something you have to keep in mind to optimize the communication. And yeah, as we spoke about the stereotypes for Germans, you see also some stereotypes for Poland. And this is not my stereotypes. It's, as I said, it's coming from a paperwork from a EU project where they try to write down some of these regulations. They wrote in this paper that there is a very formal welcome with a defined order of handshaking. So the rules are woman before man, the older person before the young person. So that is somehow written in this document. I'm not sure if it's still true, but my feeling is that this happens more in Poland than in Germany. The second thing, what is for Germans not really understandable, is the people addressed with a job title. So, Professor is a very typical thing. You will not hear this so often in German. Maybe someone says professor and then the name, but with a name, not as Professor. So that is a little bit a difference if you speak directly to the person. Yeah, the dresses, in my feeling, the dresses in Poland and for official meetings are more defined than in Germany, because in Germany, the last years, there were many changes, especially coming from the startup and in the digital area. Yeah. They wrote down that for men it should a black suit and a shirt with a tie. In Germany, you not find ties so often in the business world. It's not so common use them. I think there's a mistake. The distance I forgot to change. In Poland, I don't find any information about the certain distance. Maybe you can give a feedback. What is the feeling? What is your feeling about the distance you have in Poland? Maybe some of you can just answer.
Yeah, I think it's more casual. It really depends on the situation, but I think nobody like cares too much if someone's, well, you know, very close, it's too close. But you know, if you just bump a little bit into each other, it's not a problem, I think. Yeah. We don't have precise, like, you know, it has to be this way or something. I don't know, if somebody's closer, I think it's okay.
I think
okay,
it's about 2 meters, I guess, when it comes to some formal events. I think
okay,
so.
2 meters, that is nearly the same distance as we have in German side, on the German side.
A bit less, but it comes and happens automatically, and normally nobody thinks about this.
Yeah.
We are just making it intuitive, so it's so hard to define it. So right now, auf Anhieb, auf gutem Deutsch gesagt. This is the thing, but I think 1.5 meter would be fine. But we are much more close to each other. These relations are even warmer. Like, so if you will talk with Scandinavians, you will see this distance really for sure immediately. And here, I think my experiences are, if I speak with people from South Germany, they are more open-hearted and warm in showing the feelings and showing the intentions than in North of Germany. This is my experience. Am I right or not? It's my feeling about this. So Germans are more distant, less.
There's definitely a difference between the north of Germany and the south of Germany. Also, if you would like to establish a friendship, different. You will have the feeling that in the south of Germany they are much more open and so on, but they are open on the surface. You will be feeling you're welcome and everything, and you will be best friends, but it's only on the surface. In the north, it's more that they are more distant. But if you came to the position where you have the feeling that you are in the friendship zone, then it's really the friendship zone. So that is a little bit the difference between the north and the south of Germany. But it's also not a general rule as everything. Yeah. So
yes, I have heard about this. Sorry for interrupting you. I have heard about this. Indeed, it's like this. It's more oberflächlich. It's like more, as you said. Yes, indeed. But anyhow, it's important.
Aber es ist auch wichtig, dass dieses erste Treffen, dieser erste
cold as a fish, so it's hard to go further sometimes, and that's why it's so important to know these differences. We we are talking about and discussing right now about this. So I can keep it still behind of my head. It's like this, and it doesn't mean nothing wrong or nothing bad. But if I will break this barrier, this border, being cold and distance, then I know that it will be stable and good and loyal. So this is my goal then, if I am talking with Germans, to achieve this point. So this is a some kind of top secret. If we know this, it's much more easier. So we need to just wait and keep calm and be professional as much as we can, and then we can achieve this point. This is really important. With Poles, it's different thing, and as we said before, we are more open, flexible, but it's nothing for you for the very beginning as well, for you Germans, as I think.
Yeah. And you have to keep in mind that there's a difference in communication. If the best example is if you look to the Brits, you have to be extremely polite that everything is great and everything is nice and everything is the best of the world. But at the end of the day, they are not meaning what they are saying. You not really will find this in the especially North German culture. If they say it's really good or this fits as past, this fits. This means it's really good, it's really great, let's move on. So it's a question of the communication. It's really a difference, and you have to keep this in mind. If someone says, okay, this fits, that means, okay, everything is fine, you can move on, and it starts. Yeah, as you said, for the cooperation with Poland, they expect that much more personal relationship is required. And okay, I have to speed up. Yeah, and the second thing is there are some expectation, or the not expectation is it would be nice if you are, as a guest, came to Poland even to a business meeting, if you have some small gifts like a chocolate or some local beverage or something small, you not get this expectation on the German side. But this is just a thing you have to keep in mind. It's a nice to have. It's a little bit a small door opener. Okay, as I said, I have to speed up my presentation. But and if we are speaking about stereotypes, please keep in mind they can be really helpful to have some expectations what can go on. But please keep in mind these are still stereotypes. At the end of the day, you are speaking with individuals, and all of them are different, and you don't know it. Maybe you speak with someone with a North German company, but the company owner came from the South Germany, and that means that that his expectations can be different. So you have to be flexible with this. You can use stereotypes to understand a little bit the other partners. If there are some behaviors you not understand, then you can just look on some stereotypes and say, okay, maybe it's a cultural thing. Why the reaction you get is not the same as you expected. You have to keep in mind the stereotypes describing groups, and description of groups can be different. If you speak with a group of startup company in the digitalization area, it's completely different if you speak with a group of companies working in financial areas. So you have to keep this also in mind, that that you use the wide stereotype if you would like to use it. And yeah, that is also the risk, because you, as I said, you speak with individuals. Sometimes stereotypes block you to really start to get to know the other side. And you have to still have this open. You have to open mind to just reflect the reaction of the other side to avoid communication problems. And this is one of the main source of problems. Often it's not the content, it's often 90% of all problems are related to communication. So, and you have to keep this in every time in mind, and this would be also a separate topic if you speak about communication. You see this stereotype list. You will get this presentation, and this is something you have to keep in mind. And you have to keep in mind stereotypes are built of this most people area, and you can also be in contact with these some people. So don't keep it too strong in your mind. And shortly, I will come back to the picture we saw before, and I try to go back to the results we had, because this is a. I hope that we can see the results now, and I will put it here in this on the screen. Yeah, you see creepy horror fear, creepy clown, and now you keep in mind that is all the reaction just seeing the picture. And now we go back to the problem. If you this situation, just seeing a picture and starting to have an interpretation could be difficult or could be dangerous. That's why often we suggest somehow in difficult situations use this tool. That means, first of all,
in schwierigen Situationen sehen wir nur unsere Angehensweise. Aber die Frage.
Someone who will give hugs a clown in the forest. That is what you see. What is real in the picture, and then the interpretation starts. And then you can say, okay, what has happened in this? It's a curious situation because I'm feeling not welcome, and so on and so on. And then you have to evaluate the situation. If this, what I interpret, is really that what has happened. And sometimes this method can avoid you to misinterpret some situations. So just going back, just describe just for yourself the situation without any reflections. Then mix the reflections and then think, is it true or not? And that can help you to avoid some difficulties. Yeah, as I have a very limited time, and I would not stress you too much. Normally, we can speak much longer about all these things, and especially about the communication and the misinterpretation between those who are sending some information and those who are the receiver of the information, and the losses between these both. But this is a separate topic, and if you are interested in this, we surely can organize also some discussion about this. There are some events as a follow-up, as we are all thinking about digitalization. On the 27th of April, we will speak about Polish-German cooperation. We are more or less going in the direction of the definition of topics, and we will use a gamified web meeting system. So it would be also an experiment from our side, because you will get an avatar to make this. Then one day later, we have there's a next workshop with the effective cross-border communication. I think Magda will say something to this. And on the 1st of June, there will be the third workshop about the cooperation and digitalization. And yeah, all the information will be found on this area. Sorry for just a very speedy presentation, but we are completely running out of time. And yeah, I will thank you for your attention. Dziękuję bardzo, and hopefully we will see us in some other meetings and have more time also for individual discussions. Okay, Magda, I will give you.
Okay, I need only 2 minutes. So thank you very much for Ewelina Gnatkowska for her input, and also for input from the German side. I mean, Alexander Schwog. Alexander Schwog represents WITENO, which is our partner. So thank you once again for our cooperation. I would like to thank all of the participants for your active participation and the transfer of knowledge and experience. And I hope that some good practice are going to be developed. I would like to invite you to join our third workshops, but also a day before our third workshop, Alexander Schwog is going to organize a German discussion, online discussion. So maybe it's a good idea, Alexander, to send the link to the event. I mean, to use our chat. What do you think?
Yes, you will get it in some seconds. Just a moment.
So you can use the chat, and I would like to invite you to our third workshop, which is going to be the third activities, scheduled under the project. The workshop, Effective Communication, How to Transfer Information Across Borders. And the workshop is going to be carried out by Aleksandra Piasecka. So I'm glad that Alexandra joined us today. During the workshop, we are going to work on how to reach the client across the border, how to promote yourself successfully, I mean in Poland and in Germany, and what media and which tools should we use to be noticed on the market.
Thank you, Magda, for this nice and describe of my workshop. I wanted to do it myself, but you made it very nice. Thank you very much, and I invite you for this workshop in 2 weeks. And thank you for this 2 nice lecture, and also thank you very much for the for interpreting.
Okay, so I also have sent the link to our overall idea of the project to our webpage, and the application form for the third workshop is going to be done, maybe tomorrow. So let's stay in touch, and thank you once again for the today's meeting. Maybe somebody would like to ask something, so don't hesitate to ask, please. So if not, so thank you for the discussion.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.